I don't even know what going to school for playwriting looks like. I don't know what they tell you, like, that you should know. So all I can do is teach myself. So I look at what other playwrights are doing. I'm in these Facebook groups and I see, okay, what are the most produced plays? What do they like about them? What works for them? What doesn't? What plays are causing they love, but there's problems.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Scene Podcast. I'm your host, Justin Borak, joined today by the absolutely wonderful, amazing play scripts queen, Tracy Wells. I'm so excited to get in this conversation with her. So, KJ, let's get right into the interview. I am joined today by the brilliant, the wonderful Tracy Wells. Tracy is a playwright with over 125 published full-length one-act and skits. You probably know her as one of the brilliant, upper-tier, high, amazing figures of the Play Scripts catalog, having been done at so many high schools and Christian markets across the country. Tracy is someone that personally, when I started writing in the Play Scripts catalog, I looked up to very much, and I read a lot of their plays. So I'm so happy to have you on. Tracy, how are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm so pumped. I love talking to people who are like a fellow like Play Scripts catalog person and has a lot in there growing that catalog. I wanted to start this conversation, though. I love starting the episode this way, talking about your beginnings. I read a lot on your website, and I've listened to some like Zooms and stuff that you've been on, and I've gotten to hear a little bit about your journey. But I'd love for you to talk about what made you want to become a playwright, what got you into theater, where all of this kind of started, especially as someone who writes so heavily for like a published catalog. You write so hard for a specific marketplace. So where did this journey begin as being the playwright that you are today?
Yeah, so I think like a lot of playwrights or just theater practitioners in general, I think a lot of us come to theater as a kid. And certainly that's where I came to it. My parents, we didn't have a lot of money growing up, but it was very important
Mhm.
to them to expose us to just a variety of what the world has to offer, whether it be theater or ballet or sporting events, kind of helping us find the thing that we would click, that would click inside of us and ignite a
Mhm.
passion. And for me, I mean, I don't even remember the first play that I saw, but something clicked in me in a way that it didn't for my brothers. And I was just enthralled and
Yeah.
I couldn't get enough. So I went to every show my parents would take me to, little Kid Sunshine series,
Mhm.
um, different touring shows that would come through Detroit. And then, like a lot of other people, when it came to junior high, I took my first drama class, and had a great time with that, and went into theater in high school as well. But pretty much assumed that was going to be the end of the road for me. I did not have ambitions to be an actor outside of high school. I had never written anything creatively. I could knock out a 5 paragraph essay like no one's
Mhm.
business, but like literally could not, didn't do any creative writing at all.
Yeah. Wow.
Um, Actually went to college and became an occupational therapist, which is a medical related job.
Yeah.
It's therapy for people who, through some medical issue or other, are unable to perform their daily tasks. That's what the occupation stands for.
Yeah. Yeah.
And uh, just kind of thought that was my path, and where theater would have a place in my life would be as an audience member.
Yeah.
But my now husband, the guy I was dating, he
Mhm.
was going to school to be a teacher, and he um, became like, so he had an English degree and he needed a minor, so he picked speech because he thought it would relate. And so
Mhm.
naturally, the first job he gets was a English and a drama teacher, except he had never done any drama.
Oh,
And
wow.
so by this point, we're married, and he needed help. So, I dusted off my high school trauma experience and helped him, kind of develop what his class would be.
Hmm.
And he's an amazing teacher. So,
Yeah.
he took a class of like maybe 15 kids initially and grew it into teaching drama all day at a junior high, which is unheard of.
Wow. Yeah.
And with his speech minor, he really felt strongly about every kid having a line. That
Hmm.
kids, one of the things that theater and drama bring to kids is that ability to be able to get up and speak in front of people, which you need.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. So he was finding plays, but as his classes grew, he had trouble. And I hate to admit this, but initially, my first playwriting experience was literally taking someone else's play and adding in a couple extra
I
characters.
feel like every high school has that
Do
story.
we do
It's
that? We do. I mean, hopefully, I'm
yeah, it
not the only
happens.
playwright who does it, who did that.
Yeah.
Had no idea. Truly had no idea. I thought, like, initially, I'll just split this town person into three townspeople and leave it at that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but uh and I would literally like retype the whole play because I didn't want him to have to like pencil in a line. So I literally would read so that's how I learned structure completely was retyping
Oh
entire and these were plays they had a subscription to Plays magazine. I don't know if you know what that is.
no, I've never heard of Place Magazine.
That was actually where I was first published through, ironically, after,
Hmm.
breaking their
Yeah.
copyright. But it's a subscription. It's still around. It's been around for like 100 years. Based out of the Boston area.
Hmm.
They provide schools can get a subscription for I don't know if it's like 60 or $75, and they get 9 issues a year, and they can use any plays in it royalty free.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah, so they're really short, anywhere from like 2 minutes to like maybe 20 minutes at the longest.
Yeah. I'm so
No
sorry.
worries.
Please keep going.
But so he so I was adding into those plays basically. And
Mhm.
again, just retyping them all, learning how to format things from that. But then I remembered my high school days too, and knowing that there were those like again, the townspeople roles are like the
Yeah.
tree in the background and thought if I'm gonna add lines, I'm gonna do something with it. I'm gonna
You want to
my
give
time
each person not just like words to say, but a
right.
reason to say those words. Yeah.
Right. So townsperson three isn't going to just say, hey, he's going to be like super sassy or maybe he's a klutz. And we started to see that his students were trying out for my add in characters. And so when he
Like, that's
really
so
started,
funny.
I know, which blew my mind at the time, but
So these people are going in to like audition for an actual play, but they're like, I really want to play this role
yeah,
that was like
not
added in
knowing,
fully by you. Yeah,
yeah,
not
not
knowing.
knowing
That's
it's
so
his
funny.
wife just putting it in.
Yeah.
And so when he really was running out of plays, then I thought, okay, let me try writing one.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's my parent my mom writes poems and she submits them to places,
Hmm.
or if it's just that whole, you can do anything you put your mind to thing that I'm lucky that my parents instilled in me. But my whole thing
Yeah.
was if I'm writing it, I'm going to try to get it published. And on the back of these Plays magazines, they had submission info. And so the first play I wrote was The Gift of the Magi, a little 20-minute adaptation. I
Yeah.
sent it in and they said no. Not because of anything in particular, but they already had it. And
Oh,
the
okay. Yeah.
yeah, and the edit and they do reprint like certain plays they'll put, maybe 5 years later they'll put them back in.
Hmm.
But the editor there, Liz Preston, was super encouraging and encouraged me to write more. So must have seen something she liked. We discussed some ideas of things they didn't have. And the second play I wrote was an adaptation of The Golden Goose,
Hmm.
and they published it. And
That's
that's kind of
amazing.
where, I mean, truly, I've never been to school for this. I've never taken a creative writing class. I did not. I mean, my whole degree is medical. So lots
Yeah.
of science, lots of psychology. Um,
That's such an interesting way to come into the industry. You hear so much about people coming from these higher education places or like studying forever, and you kind of came out of a like necessity and also like a true just like wanting to be a part of a community and like wanting to help build a community with your husband. Like
Right.
that's so interesting. I wanted to talk about, because you primarily write for younger audiences, for like Christian markets, like a family friendly style of writing.
Right.
I was wondering, like, what goes into, so you write Gift of the Magi, you write Golden Goose, you start writing your work. How do you tailor, or what I'm trying to think how to word it. Like, what is it like to come up with ideas with that specific audience and performance group in mind? Like, what do you do when generating ideas, when creating the text? What's your process, I guess, when it comes to writing this work? Because you write so for such a specific group, basically exclusively. How does that go for you?
Right. So initially, or so in terms of content for me, a lot of that again, I wrote for so long just pretty much for my husband, and I luckily was able to get things published, the shorter
Yeah.
pieces to Place Magazine, and later I did venture to full lengths, and I sent those to Big Dogs. A lot of them were adaptations. So so much of my process is just learning as I went along. Like
Hmm.
as I said, I learned how to format from literally copying other people's work.
Hmm.
I went into adaptations, and of course a lot of those classic works content wise are all squeaky clean. And my husband being at the junior high at the time, he's at a high school now.
Yeah.
um I needed, he needed things to be very clean. The
Yeah.
area that I live in, we need things to be squeaky clean.
Yeah.
So that it's been more out of necessity that way. I feel like if I'm putting out stuff that my husband can do, um or is clean, then anyone can do it.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I didn't, so I didn't want to limit anything from there. And I've certainly had to walk things back. Like, and my husband's a good resource that way. Like, he'll be like, I'll say to him, "Is this something you could put on your stage?" And he'll be like, "Maybe tone that down a little, or
Yeah.
whatnot." The Christian side of thing that came later. Much later, true, like, probably hadn't been to church since I was a teenager.
Hmm.
We have When our kids started getting a little older, we thought we should go. Started going to a church with some friends. Naturally, they told everyone, that my husband was a theater director and I was a playwright. So when Christmas came around, they were like, "Hey."
Hey,
Uh,
can you write this for us? Yeah.
and that was very daunting. I'm like, I mean, really? Like, I haven't been to church in like 20 years. you
I was
know?
just say, what an adaptation to be asked to write
Yeah.
the
And
story of, yeah,
yeah,
wow.
and the first one was really bad. But again, I learned from there. And a lot of Christian writing is like, how many different ways can you tell the Christmas story or the Easter story?
Yeah,
And that helped my writing a ton, because when you learn to tell the same story, 20 different ways,
yeah,
it's going to make you think about writing in a different way. It's a lot more easy to pivot if something's not working. If I'm writing a fairy tale thing, or I'm writing a vignette style play, I find it much more easy to pivot because of having to tell the same story in a
yeah,
new way.
yeah, totally.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, that's just it's so cool the way that you work and you turn them out so fast. Can I ask how many? What is like the average like duration it takes from like idea to like draft that you're sending to somebody to either produce or to publish or whatever that is? Like, how long does it usually take for you, like on an average basis?
It varies.
Yeah.
It varies. I don't do most of the really short stuff. I do is for the Christian market. I write for a Christian comedy duo called the Skit Guys. But it
Hmm.
depends on the piece. So, like I have one historical fiction piece, Angels of Bataan. I was probably working on the research for that for a year. I'm
Wow. Yeah.
usually working on something in the background while I'm
Hmm.
also writing and also planning the next thing that I'm going to write.
Yeah.
I'm very like structured and organized that way. That's probably the medical background.
Yeah.
But sometimes, so I would say generally speaking, the piece I'm working on right now is a really short, or well, it's going to end up being like 45, 50 minutes. Um TYA kind of show.
Yeah.
And honestly, I came up with the idea maybe a couple weeks ago, and I literally came up with the whole structure of the story in a couple hours. and I started writing it on Monday. I will be done mid next week with it probably.
Wow. So the process of like research and like coming up with an idea can vary, but then like when you get into writing, you're like, boom, let's like get going.
Most of the time, there's definitely been
Yeah.
some that I struggled with, like murder mysteries don't come very easily to me at
That's
all. I
such a
wish they did.
hard
Ugh,
oh, that's such a hard genre to write. I feel like it's so popular, but the farcical nature of giving everybody a story and like
yeah.
keeping the audience on their toes and
Yeah,
stuff is
and
like
not making it
yeah.
obvious, and everyone's a suspect. And I mean, my
Mhm.
notes, I've done a couple, and my notes for those are just usually I don't have much in the way of notes. I'm more of a fly by the seat of your pants kind of person, very minimal
Yeah.
structure in terms of what I put out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are brutal. So but I'm also a person who it's very rare that I won't finish something I started.
Yeah.
So like a murder mystery I wrote last year called Totally Murder. It's a
Mhm.
1980s murder mystery set in a mall food court.
Oh,
Um
sweet, yeah.
I probably developed that over 2 to 3 months, and then it took me a full month to write that. And that would be a longer,
Process.
yeah, that would be a longer, as far as the writing. Most full lengths, a long one would be a month for me. I've written full lengths in 2 weeks.
Mhm.
Um, but that would probably
Yeah.
the fastest would be 2 weeks for a full length. I've written fast food, which I know we'll talk about. That one I wrote in
Yeah.
like 4 days. So, some
Wow.
of them are very, very quick.
Yeah, that's aw well, I mean, like, we don't have to go in this perfect order of the questions I
Yeah.
sent you. I wanna talk about a couple of the plays in your catalog
Sure.
just 'cause I think they're so interesting, and I'll start with fast food. One of what I personally think are one of the best vignette plays in the entire Play Scripts catalog.
Oh,
I
thank
think
you so
it's
much.
so wonderful and so funny. It captures a like quirky energy of a fast food restaurant through a series of scenes featuring the staff and customers and everyone in between. What inspired you to set a play in a fast food joint, and what was your process in developing characters and structure? Because my first play I wrote for Play Scripts was a vignette play,
Hmm.
and I know that there's something to it of like wanting to create. Like my first thought was kind of the same thing that you think when you write. Like I want to write a character. All these characters, I want everyone to be excited to play.
Right.
So I know that's something that goes really heavily into your process. So yeah, what was it like developing this play and this setting, but also each and every one of these characters?
Yeah, so with fast food, there's a lot of I do a lot of development, whether it's with my husband or other teachers, which I think is really helpful. And I had another teacher who has come to me the last 4 years. She had come across a different play of mine, channeling Grimm, and had used it for a camp show in the summer. And so
Mhm.
she came to me the next year and said, "This worked great. Do you have anything else that you've written this year or are in the works to write?" That I could use for my camp show. I'm just gonna take a drink quick.
No, 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 do it.
And so I had some ideas. Like I think all of us, we probably have that like note screen in our phone or notebook or
Mhm.
whatever, where you've got like various ideas.
Oh
And
yeah.
mine is ideas, and some of them are fully formed. Some are character names. Some are um, a title. And in this case, I had fast food as a title. That was pretty much it. And then she came to me and either wanted something like spooky horror Halloween or food.
Mhm.
And I
Two
went through
very
my
different,
yeah,
two like incredibly different genres or types of
totally,
play.
totally.
Yeah.
So I looked through what I had. I wasn't planning on writing anything, but here she was. And again, what I have found in terms of writing for this market is, if you listen to teachers, their problems are the problems everyone else is having. I think that's why I've been successful, is problems my husband has, everyone has, or a lot of
Mhm.
people have. So if she wants a camp script, she wanted it to be vignette, she wanted it to be one of these two things. And I thought both of those sound fun. Like, let me
Yeah.
see what I got. And I pitched her what later became Eerie Academy, which is published through Pioneer.
Mhm.
That's a series of spooky, funny vignettes in a high school that has both kids and monsters.
Mhm.
And fast food. She actually went with Eerie Academy, so I wrote that first. But I loved what I had developed for fast food, so I
Yeah.
thought, I'm gonna give this a
Give it a
whirl.
shot. Yeah.
And the other piece with fast food is I'm very I'm very observant about what's going on, or I try to be. Again, I'm there's so much of me that has always had to figure this out as I went along. I don't even know what going to school for playwriting looks like. I don't know what
Hmm.
they tell you like that you should know. So all I can do is teach myself. So I look at what other playwrights are doing. I'm in these Facebook groups and I see, okay, what are the most produced plays? What do they like about them? What works for them? What
Yeah.
doesn't? What plays are causing they love, but there's problems, you know?
Yeah.
And definitely, I mean, definitely everyone is always talking about check please. But I also
Hmm.
had been seeing a trend away from plays centered around romance, especially since a lot of beginning classes use check please because it's got no set and things like that.
Yeah.
um so and I that's how I tend to look at it as far as the market that I write for are either beginning actors, which could be junior high, ninth grade, or even people who find theater in 11th or 12th grade, and
Hmm.
then more experienced actors, whether that be high
Hmm.
school, college, community theater, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So it seemed like a lot of beginning classes were doing check please, but we're finding the romance part difficult, especially post COVID. They didn't want anyone, getting too
Yeah.
close, or like the kids were like junior high kids, early ninth, 10th grade, were not comfortable with relationship based plays.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, this is, and a lot of them were getting into doing like food units where they'd make fake food. So I thought,
Yeah.
what's a lot of my vignette style plays are either based on a theme or based on a location. Like your
Yeah.
community garden is such a great idea. It
Yeah.
evokes emotion. It's one of those ideas that I'm like, I wish I thought of that. It's so good.
Well,
But
I read fast food and I thought the exact same thing. I was like, oh, great idea. Yeah.
yeah, like 9 times out of 10, I think if it's a location, that's a great place to start. And for me, thinking of teachers all the time, what can they, again, this is tables and chairs, a counter, which could be a table with a little something put over the front, and
Yeah.
you're done. Or you can expand it and it can be a whole, big thing. Um, and my son, who is 18, he just started working at Dairy Queen at the time. So he was
Hmm.
always coming home with crazy stories. I've never worked fast food personally.
Yeah.
Have had some weird experience. I mean, I think we probably all have had a weird
Oh, yeah.
experience. So, it seemed like a no-brainer. And with
Yeah.
my vignette plays, I find a lot of inspiration when I title the scenes.
Hmm.
So, with this one, it was like I'm going to do food based titles. And so a lot of the characters came from there. Like, so looking up idioms, looking up puns, looking up things like that. And then what
Oh, man.
inspires me from that. Like the scene sandwiched, that there would be a witch. And then also like
Yeah. Yeah.
mega drink or whatever I ended up calling it, where like you see those kids
Yeah.
who are like at the soda thing, putting all the
Just
flavors
like
together,
putting
which is
every flavor in. Yeah.
gross. But like, what if I combine those two things? She's making a
Yeah.
potion. So um
Yeah.
kind of just playing around with those. That's a lot of what I do with that type of play. Had
It's
no
so
idea it would
fun.
take off in the way that it did, but
Yeah, I think it took off because it's so relatable. Because you're right, everyone has a kind of wild story from a fast food place that they've either worked at or they've been to or whatever.
yeah.
Another one of your titles that I love so much, Rotten Apples, featuring classic character like the evil queen, the wicked stepmother, big bad wolf, all that, trapped in a mansion trying to solve a mystery involving Prince Charming, a mischievous imp, a treasure. It's so fun. It has like the like murder mystery kind of vibe to it. It has that like kind of like I don't know. It's you do such a good job of taking past stories or already generated or already created characters and stuff and creating something original and new of your own.
Well, thank you.
Um where did the idea for this one come from? Did it start as a like I want to do a hodgepodge of these classic fairy tale characters, or did it start with something different? Like where did this come from?
So this is one of the last couple years I've noticed. Usually in the summer, out of nowhere, an idea will. I'll be writing something else, and a fully fledged idea will come. And this was
Yeah.
that a couple years ago. which I don't love stopping something and starting something else, but I was so compelled to write this at that
Yeah.
time. I'd already written some fairy tale plays. I love doing maybe at least one of those a year. I feel like fairy tales are something that everyone can connect to.
Hmm.
At any level, there's so much you can do with them. They can be funny. You can twist the endings. Um, they can be dark. You can go the darker route, and we see them as adults. There's shows and there's movies based on. It's kind of like Shakespeare that way. Like there's how many Cinderella
Yeah.
stories out there. So I always enjoy writing it, but I think at that time a lot of people in the theater group were talking about Clue, and again for
Hmm.
these beginner level classes or beginner level junior high, early high school, they loved the show, but it was either too too small of a cast, which a lot of junior high and beginner classes are much larger than the
Oh
older
yeah.
kids. And then or the set was too daunting for them.
Hmm.
So I thought, and again, it's one of those, it just kind of came out of nowhere. Like, you know what, I could take these characters and they can fit, like the frog being Mr. Green. Some of it just fit
Yeah.
exactly. And
Yeah.
then or the frog prince in that case. And
Hmm.
then just the different villains. And I had the title. It was one of those, I had the title already in my note screen, didn't know what I was going to do with
Yeah.
it. And I just sat there and that was maybe like a day or two, just developed it all out. I actually stopped what I was working on at the time and just
Went all in
worked
on
on it.
this.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And again, that one was
Well.
quick. It was a couple weeks. And luckily, like I was able to look at scripts like Clue and other scripts like that, which are so brilliant, and just kind of
Yeah.
say, okay, what's working here? Because there's so much that does work. It's just what are these? It's a couple pieces that aren't working for everybody. So
Yeah.
can I
Yeah.
make something that
That does
does
kind of
what
fill
this
those
does well?
gaps.
Yeah, right,
Yeah,
right.
absolutely. I'm always so interested when a playwright writes a play with multiple endings, where like either like the Mystery of Edwin Drood, like where like people get
Mm,
to choose kind of what happens in the end, or just like in general, like the fact that Rotten Apples has these three separate endings. That either you can pick which one you want to do, or like you write a note in the front, and you're like you could do all three if you want to. It's
right.
totally up to you. What was it like writing? What made you want to? Was it just that like while you're writing, you had three different ideas for endings, and you're like, screw it, why not write all three and let people pick? Or was it always the concept like you wanted it to have that kind of fun like audience participation, or just like the feeling that like things can always change kind of ending? Like what was it? What made you want to go into that?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of a few things. Aside from the script, the play script Clue, the movie was always a favorite growing up, and I always
Hmm.
watched all three and loved that whole. And this is, all of them did it kind of vibe.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, Additionally, again, just being observant and seeing that teachers seem to love that aspect, whether it allowed them to feature a particular student or they wanted an audience interactive play.
Yeah.
Multiple ending plays give them so many choices. Another one
Hmm.
ended up doing all of them simply because they wanted a teachers, they want specific things, so many specific things. And you certainly can't cater to all of them, but anytime there's flexibility or you're able to give them something to work with.
Yeah.
So I had they wanted a specific runtime, and in doing this number of endings, it hit that runtime. So that
Yeah.
worked for them. Um, and the clue structure of a murder mystery is a little different than some others. Than it was a good one it was my first one that I had done, and it was a good one to start out on because they're all there together, and you have various, like especially with the fairy tale characters, you have the evil queen, she's got the apple, she's poisoned before.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of inherent um like there it's already set up as far as their motives and things like that.
There's
So
some
I
like
didn't
red
have to.
herrings already in there. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have to develop all of that, which was great. And so at the end, it just was so I guess because Clue in the movie already had that three ending structure and so many teachers wanted, we're kind of talking about plays like that.
Hmm.
I thought, well, that's an element that I want to keep. And as far as developing out the endings, because of the way that particular style of murder mystery is, I was able to just kind of go, okay, well, who are the most likely suspects then?
Yeah.
And, you know, who do I want to choose and how am I going to bring that back. But again, it was pretty easy in this particular one to make those
Yeah.
conclusions.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love plays that use like different theatrical devices to subvert expectations, and I think like having a multi-ending play is so fun. One thing I want to talk about, we talked about it actually a good amount already in the episode, but wow, so something I learned about you while doing my research is how many adaptations you've done.
Mhm.
Like you dived so much into the Jane Austen catalog with Pride and Prejudice, and then Les Mis. You've done a Peter Pan and Wendy, and so many more. Do you have like a certain approach when you're adapting? Are you trying to just be are you trying to just take the classic story and put it on the stage for the most part, or are you like, how do I take this classic story and subvert it, kind of like what you did with Rotten Apples, and do put your own like Tracy Wells spin on it? Is there something, do you try to do both? Is there something you prefer? What's your kind of take on adaptations?
So initially, as I mentioned, that's kind of how I got into playwriting. And so if we were doing a timeline of my work, all of my initial work was adaptations. I like
Yeah.
truly I started writing in 2008 was when I started
Hmm.
writing. And initially did those 20-minute, and all of those were adaptations to Plays magazine, and then branched out when my
Okay,
husband
cool.
started doing he had started getting like ninth grade classes and wanted full length, so I started trying my hand at full lengths and started sending those out. It truly was a hobby at that point. I was a mom of young kids. I was working part time as an OT. It was just, let me write stuff for my husband. I'm super lucky that everything's getting published. And maybe I'll get a couple $100 and some some schools around the country will do these.
Yeah.
At that point, again, just kind of learning, I was sticking to the source material as much as possible. And I read some of the early stuff and like, my God, that monologue can be cut way down. But I was like, no,
Yeah.
I'm gonna author's intent because
Yeah.
I already had been like stealing from authors before. So now I'm sticking to exactly what they're. If there's dialogue in there, it's going in. So these things were
Yeah.
long, they were clunky. I like a lot of playwrights, I wish I could go back and rewrite.
Oh yeah.
Um, and I hadn't read a lot. I mean, to be honest, again, I didn't go to school for this. So like I hadn't spent a lot of time reading a ton of plays.
Hmm.
Um, Probably one of the first plays adaptations that I wrote where I felt like I could put a little bit of myself into was an adaptation of The Snow Queen, which I wrote around the time the first Frozen movie came out, and was when I
Okay.
started kind of thinking maybe I wanted to actually do this. And so I wanted to add elements of of the movie Frozen, as far as like, let's, instead of it being a boy and a girl, let's make it two girls. And there's the
Yeah.
funky sidekick of the snowman Olaf. So we're not going to do that, but we'll do a funny sidekick. In my case, it was a stand-up comedian penguin. And different things like that, and some of the fun characters that they meet. And so I added
Yeah.
a lot of my own. That was the first time I would say I really kind of veered off the material.
The original. Yeah.
Yeah. But it wasn't until 2020 when I wrote One Stoplight Town that I
Hmm.
actually really got away. I had done one fairy tale play, which had more of myself in it, I would say, but really One Stoplight Town was my first non um, adaptation.
Yeah.
And a lot has changed, in the last 5 years well, 4.5 years since I wrote it. Um, but now I literally just finished the first adaptation that I have written since I was only writing adaptations.
Really?
Which, yeah, because after that, once One Stop Like Town hit, I've kind of been, well, unless you count fairy tales, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been doing more of my own, original work, and also it kind of felt like everyone has everything. So, you know, I've gotten into some different publishers like Play Scripts. Everybody has everything already. What else can I say? And then like Kate Hamill's been coming out and she's been doing amazing
Oh
things
yeah.
with, I mean, there's already a bunch of Pride and Prejudices out there, including mine. And yet
Hmm.
she comes and she brings her own spin to it, which I think is amazing. And there's other people doing the same thing.
Oh yeah.
And it's gotten me thinking about it differently, that yeah, there is a place for, just because publishers have a version of this or that, if you are coming at it in a new way, in a way that our world needs to hear the story now,
Mhm.
then there's a place for that. Um, that combined with the fact that, again, just being observant, and even from my husband, schools need name recognition. As much as I would love everyone to, do all my stuff, I know that they can't. Like,
Yeah.
they're doing it for class shows. They're doing my stuff for competitions. More adventurous schools that don't, that can, whether they do it in a black box or they can put whatever on their stage, are doing my stuff. But a lot
Yeah.
of schools, they're funding their programs on this, so they need names. And
They
a
want
lot
something
of that,
that gets the audience excited, that
yeah.
they recognize.
So it's a good idea to kind of keep an eye on what is, if you're writing for the high school market, what does your community know? Because teachers, they need to sell tickets. And so that's the position my husband was in this year. he
Yeah.
um he lost a lot of guys, so he needed something with a lot of flexibility. He has to do it around Halloween this year, which is different for him. So
Mhm.
I was kind of looking through, what is there already a lot of, what do I think that I can, because if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this now in my own voice with my experience and where I'm at in my career, and I'm not just going to
Mhm.
do it directly. And so
Yeah.
I just wrote an adaptation of The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. And I
Oh.
and right, which is shockingly, there isn't like a ton out there.
There's
I mean,
not a ton of them, no.
there's a ton of Draculas. There's not, and a lot of what's out there is one act, because the story is short. It's a lot of descriptions about New England if you read it.
Yeah.
And basically, the story is this school teacher comes to the spooky town, and he sees a hot chick with tons of money, and that's all she brings to the table.
Yeah.
And he wants to marry her, and the other guy basically wants to scare him off, and scares him off with a ghost story. That's the end of it. So I felt like it had a lot of room for me to
To
play
kinda
with the
create
story.
your own, yeah.
Right.
To, like,
And
build your
Katrina,
its own thing
K-
out.
yeah, Katrina's got a lot of stuff going on now.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of great to look at some of those older stories that's not the case, because there's a lot of those.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Kate Hamill's doing, and other people are doing.
Yeah.
So hopefully I've done that with this. I'm happy with it. So I don't know. So maybe I'll do some more adaptations, maybe I won't, but it's been a long time since I've done one. So I'm really
I'm
happy
so
with how
excited.
it
I
came
wanna
out.
read it.
Yeah,
Please send it over because I
will
love Sleepy
do.
Hollow. It's
Will
so
do.
fun.
Yeah.
Um, okay, the last thing I wanna do, I've done this for a couple people this season, just because your catalogs is so big, and while researching, I read so much of your stuff, I wanted to, like, do a little, like, mini game of talking of some plays. So just real quick, I'm gonna say a
Okay.
play, and then you tell me a little bit about it, okay? And we hit a
Okay.
couple already, so I'll skip those ones, but there's a bunch on here.
Okay.
Yeah?
Sure. Sounds
Alright,
good.
sweet, okay. First one, I love a campfire story, A Night Under the Stars.
Right. So that one I wrote in early 2021. Again, COVID still kind
Mhm.
of in the picture. Teachers were asking for things with alternate. Maybe we have to do this outside. Um,
Oh, yeah.
Maybe my kids are getting pulled out for contact tracing. So vignettes great for that, because someone can
Mhm.
jump in easily.
Yeah, yeah.
And again, that one started with location, and I
Yeah.
thought, and I grew up camping, so I thought, what better place to set it that could be done outside or very easily on stage with a faux campfire and a couple of
Mhm.
chairs, and tell stories.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
that's
that's
where
so
that one
good.
came from.
Oh, that's wonderful. Okay, The Layover.
The layover, that was one that kind of, one of those random out of nowhere ideas.
Mhm.
Again, super easy set. It's a row of chairs in an airport waiting area. Um, And the cool thing about that one, it has sort of a twist ending, which I
Mhm.
haven't done a lot of, but you're meant to think anyway that this is one thing. It's about a girl traveling, but we don't know where she's going.
Mhm.
And in the end, we find out it's something else. I don't know. Should I like reveal what it is or
You
no?
don't have to. We can
Mm,
leave it because so many people are listening might wanna go buy it and read
yeah.
it. So
I
maybe,
think
yeah,
it's
we'll
cool.
leave it
It's done
spoiler
pretty
free.
well at competition too. And I've seen people fully do make a full airport on stage. I have a background character of a barista. Sometimes they make a coffee cart and sell coffee. I've had
Yeah.
people do it interactive, where they've set up chairs in the audience as if they're in the waiting area
Oh,
themselves.
that's so cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool things I've seen teachers do with it.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, you brought someone up a little bit, but I want to talk about it more. Channeling Grimm.
Yeah, channeling Grimm. Actually, it was one. I originally wrote a Christian version, not of fairy tales, but it was another take on the Christmas story called
Hmm.
Nativity V. Again, it was actually that was during COVID. We needed something that kids could film at home and put together,
Hmm.
and also tell the Christmas story. And so I thought, eventually came up with, like, maybe it's telling the Christmas story through a variety of styles of TV shows, commercials, etc. So, like in Nativity TV,
Yeah,
there's like a camel salesman, things like that. And then what's great, kind of doing the two different sides, is I'm able to say, well, this worked really well. Is there a way I can translate it to the high school amateur market?
yeah,
And again, it just occurred to me to do fairy tales, and it's vignette style, so really easy for teachers to manage.
hmm,
And I think when you're doing different styles of TV shows and soap operas and movie trailers and commercials, it's a great educational piece because you're showing kids a variety of ways to use acting.
yeah. You do such a good job of taking like tropes or the like stereotype or stereotypical thing that you know about a fairy tale character specifically, and then putting that into a relatable scene. Like taking like the overarching like theses of a character and then taking it and putting it into a scene where like a high schooler can grasp onto it and an audience member is like, oh, I see myself somehow in the big bad wolf, which I think is so wonderful and interesting. And that's
Well,
so
thank you.
hard to do, so that's one of my favorite things
Well,
about a lot of your
thanks.
work.
And
Yeah.
that's that.
No, go.
I was just going to say that's what I like about fairy tales, is it feels like, yeah, and again, going back to the whole audience piece and trying to reach out to the community, and every single person in the community is going to know fairy tales, so it's very
Yeah.
accessible, not only to actors, especially new actors, whether they're younger or just new to it, or the audience members. Again, there's things that you just know about the big bad wolf. So when he comes
Yeah.
on, it's very accessible. They feel comfortable. So it's fun. It's fun to play with it, and that's a piece that then makes a play like Channeling Grimm, which no one's ever heard of. Even though it's not a well-known title, it's still accessible to the audience.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, next one, Hot Lunch.
Hot Lunch was one, after the success of fast food. I actually had a number of publishers interested in that one. So another publisher, Stage Partners, had been interested in something that kind of did what fast food did well. And so
Hmm.
was I. And similarly to, we've all had experiences in a fast food restaurant. We have all had experiences in a school cafeteria.
Yeah.
And whether it's bringing in, sometimes you have to bring in those tropes, and then it's just a matter as a writer of trying to do it well.
Hmm.
But you got that cafeteria lady, because you need her, and you got like the weird mystery meat lunch. Um, and then other things, and that's another one where I brought my kids in and said, "Okay, give me all your craziest stories," and
Oh,
pulling in
that's
some
fun.
of my own, too, or my husband,
Yeah.
who has been a cafeteria monitor a time or two.
Yeah.
Um, so again, and also again pulling in the teachers at the time. A lot of them, for some reason, there was several posts about teachers who were losing their stages, or they taught in the cafegimatorium, combo,
Hmm.
and looking for alternative spaces to stage shows. And if you could literally just pop up a bunch of lunch tables and then seat everybody around it, you can do this show.
I didn't even think
Or
about that. I in middle school, my school, we had a cafetorium, one of
yeah,
those like cafeteria auditorium mixes.
yep,
Oh,
yep.
that's so perfect. That's such a great play written for that specific venue.
Yeah, yeah. And again,
Yeah.
location is, especially I feel like with vignette plays, is, a
Yeah,
huge,
so important.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, a couple more. I have The Con.
The Con was a fun one. My husband is a huge like D&D, fantasy, Star Wars,
Oh,
all of that
really?
stuff.
Yeah.
Yes. So he had kind of been wanting me to write something like that. I'm not into all of that. Like some of it yes, some of it no, but what I love about all of those types of things is and then also its connection to comic cons, especially
Mhm.
now that it's not so much about comics, but it's about pop culture.
Mhm.
Is it's it's just a place where everyone is accepted. And I think if you're, and you can find what you love and you can embrace it wholeheartedly and dress up or just completely
Yeah.
live in the moment. And that's also theater too, right? Or I feel like, and there is theatricality too in all of that as well.
Yeah.
Definitely in like the D&D stuff. But also at Comic Cons. I mean, these people are coming in these amazing costumes, a lot of them that they make.
Yeah.
So to me, initially, my idea was I'm going to write a vignette style play set in a Comic Con and just kind of do different because there's so much at these Comic Cons. There's video games and Star Wars and Star Trek and D&D and all that. And then
Right.
I thought I was going to call it the con. And then I thought I am really missing an opportunity here if I do not make this an Ocean's 11 style caper because it's called the con.
Yeah.
So that is what it is, and that and basically it involves a missing super rare comic book, and in each scene, which it's a different aspect of Comic Con. So there's a D&D scene, there's like a Super Mario kind of video game scene, there's a Star
Yeah.
Wars, and so on. Uh, One of the characters in each scene is involved, kind of like how there's a ton of people in Ocean's 11 that are all involved, all a piece of the con happening. They are in each
Oh,
scene, and then
okay.
at the end it all gets put together, but the entire cast is flexible. And again, as far as and it's vignette, but it's also got a through line, and the two main characters are in every scene. It's available in a 75-minute full length and a 45-minute one act, which I wrote the one act first, so the whole con is laid out, but then I
Hmm.
added filler scenes that enhance the storyline to make it a full show if you want. um it's set in a Comic Con, so it's which are literally just booths. So again, can be as um like big and bold as you want, or it can be super simple. And there's
Hmm.
a lot of creativity. The kids can make their own costumes, as Comic Con people do. Or you can buy them, or someone, a really artistically gifted kid, can create that comic book and make it
Yeah.
their own. I've had schools do a mini Comic Con like in the lobby outside. So you bringing in the art classes and different things, and so you can go
That's
through the
so
mini Comic
cool.
Con and then go see the con.
Yeah. I feel like
Yeah.
whenever you write a play and then you get to hear like high schools doing something like extra with it, something like above and beyond is always so exciting to hear.
They're so creative. And I think they
Yeah.
do have to do that. Again, if it's not a well-known play, how can I market this? And that's a great way to market it.
Yeah.
They amaze me all the time.
Yeah. Okay, I got one more.
Yeah.
Eclipse.
Eclipse. So I have another, not to throw another title in, but a popular play called A Trip to the Moon, which is a vignette
Hmm.
style play set in the summer of 1969 around the time of the moon landing. And
Hmm.
and all the scenes take place just before or after. And one of the reasons that play is popular is because each scene, as I told you, I like to title plays. It helps me develop what that particular scene is going to
Yeah.
be. Each vignette is a song that would have been on the radio in the summer of 1969, which I feel
Okay.
like a lot of people connect to with that play.
Hmm.
So I had been wanting to do another one, and the eclipse was coming up the following year, and I thought, again, we know, like right now this is a very divided country. There's a lot of turmoil,
Yeah.
but eclipses, that's a time when we all come outside and we all look up at once, and it's a sense of
Yeah.
kind of coming together. And again, like you mentioned, I try to keep things clean. I'm definitely not opposed to drama, but if there can be, I like to bring positivity if possible.
Yeah, of
And
course.
it felt like something we needed. The eclipse was coming in about a year, so I had an idea for that. And then I thought, I'm a teen of the 90s, and that's kind of been a little more popular. So like maybe there was an eclipse in the 90s, which I looked up. There was one in May of 94. So I
Okay.
thought, well, I'm gonna set it there, and I'm gonna see what music would have been on the radio at that time. And so
Hmm.
similarly to A Trip to the Moon, every scene is based on a song from that time period, but in the end, it's a play about people coming together.
Yeah. That's amazing. Tracy, thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much for
much.
chatting with me.
It's been a
Last thing I'm going
blast.
to ask, I know you're working on the Sleepy Hollow piece that I'm so excited to read. Are you working on anything else? I love hearing what other playwrights are working on or have going on in their mind or anything like that.
Right. So like I said, I'm super organized and planned out. Yeah, I just finished Sleepy Hollow, and I'm working on this short. The thing that I'm working on is a vignette style, super easy to stage. I guess it's a noir nursery rhyme play called Hard Boiled, a nursery crime. It's actually my
Whoa.
husband's. He's doing a camp this summer for the first time, so it's a play that
Mhm.
has a ton of flexibility, and he can put up,
Yeah.
a bunch of kids and do that. And what I'm also developing, which I will be starting next month, is it's kind of a Wicked meets Alice in Wonderland
Hmm.
origin story called The Queen of Hearts, which I'm excited about.
That's so fun. Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome. I feel like you don't see a lot of Queen of Hearts origin story shows. That's like one of the, I don't think I've ever heard of that happening before. That's awesome.
Well, I had before I wrote One Side by Town, but when I was still writing adaptations and thinking I might want to do that, I had come up with an origin story, or I'd been developing an origin story about the Mad Hatter, and then put that one aside. And now again, with my experience, it's like, let's give this a female lead, and
Yeah.
again, let's go with the villain in the piece, and there's just a lot to work with, so it's really fun. I'm excited to work on that one.
Yeah. That's so fun. Awesome. Tracy, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
You can find so many of Tracy's wonderful plays on Playscript or at tracywellsplaywright.com. And yeah, KJ. And that's our show. Thank you so much, Tracy, for talking to me. You're absolutely brilliant. Thank you to the whole team over at The Scene. You guys are awesome. And yeah, I'm going to end the episode the way I end every episode. And scene.